any more speakers? Member for Braitling.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise today in support of the Bail Amendment Bill. I want to start today by like many others have, Madam Speaker, acknowledging Mr Linford's family, the community who are grieving at this moment. I want to acknowledge other losses across the Northern Territory that have occurred, that have left the community reeling and feeling as though more needs to be done to ensure community safety across the Northern Territory is addressed. Since coming to government, Madam Speaker, now Deputy Speaker, our government have strengthened bail laws. Declan's Law, as the Chief Minister has spoken about today, has gone a long way to ensuring laws are strengthened and police have better powers to ensure offenders are off our streets. And I also want to acknowledge Samara Laverty, who's been here in this chamber today, and her strength in ensuring to see strengthened laws for her son, who was tragically lost. There has been mandatory sentencing for assaults on workers to deter would-be offenders from taking part in this sort of behaviour, Mr Deputy Speaker. Breach of bail has been reinstated for youth offenders and public drinking laws strengthened with over 227 fines issued. No longer, Mr Deputy Speaker, is there a law with no infringement attached. I want to raise some of the issues that have been raised by other members today, Mr Deputy Speaker, mainly the claim that this government has only just started speaking about root causes. This is something, Mr Deputy Speaker, that we spoke about throughout the election period and something that I've witnessed since coming to government. Our government is getting on with ensuring that we are putting in place programs and working with the department to ensure that we are engaging, especially with young people, Mr Deputy Speaker, at the earliest opportunity possible. I want to thank both the Chief Minister, Leah Finocchiaro, who when coming to Alice Springs has been out on patrol with myself and the member for Namatjira, going out with police to see the very real impact that our policies are having on the ground, but also take this opportunity to thank Minister Carl and the work that the Children's and Families Department in Alice Springs are doing. And there are real statistics, Mr Deputy Speaker, that speaks to what our government is doing to ensure that those early initiatives, that we are looking into the root causes of crime and how we can better impact those families. In the 5 years prior to us coming to government, Mr Deputy Speaker, some 60 family responsibility agreements were entered into. 60 over 5 years, Mr Deputy Speaker. This was something that was previously held up by the former Labor government as something that would drive real change, yet it was somewhat walked away from towards the end of their government. In the 4 months post the circuit breaker program, there have been some 85, is the information that I have in front of me, Mr Deputy Speaker, 85 family responsibility agreements entered into, which again is the work that Children's and Families goes to ensure that families, possibly with young people that are doing the wrong thing or are on the edge of looking like they're going down the wrong path, enter into an agreement that ensures that young people are attending schools that might have other cognitive issues that are dealt with. This is important work that the department is doing to ensure that these root causes of crime, the family structure, the support that can be given to those families can be entered into. And I again want to thank the Minister for her work, for the time she spent in Alice Springs, in my hometown, going out on patrol and seeing firsthand the very real issues that we face. Today, Mr Deputy Speaker, we come together in this chamber to debate the changes to the Bail Act that would see the Northern Territory have the strongest bail laws in the country, that would ensure that when a judge, the courts or police are considering bail for any offender, youth or adult, the community safety is considered, and if that individual may pose a risk to the community. I was somewhat touched, Mr Deputy Speaker, listening to the member for Sanderson, Minister Charles, who spoke about the impact that the foreign student had on him and that impact. And I am somewhat taken back to what has been happening across the Northern Territory in these different situations, these different things that have been occurring that have impacted many, many people in the community. And it's important to acknowledge that these community members that have been impacted, and then the follow-on and the impact that that has on everyone here in the Northern Territory. And I do want to touch on very briefly Mr. Shane Powell, Mr. Deputy Speaker, a community member in Alice Springs who was driving home late one night from work, who was struck and killed by a motor vehicle that at the time was alleged to have been stolen, and he lost his life. That impacted our community of Alice Springs immensely, and it impacted myself immensely as I later had his mother, Braitling, and his family in my office and speaking to them about the impact that the loss of their son, their brother, had on them. And it really does speak to why we're here today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to amend laws to reduce the prevalence of these sorts of things happening, to ensure that the community can feel safer. And there have been many, many instances that members in this chamber have spoken about today that have impacted them in different ways. And I think it really does go to why we are here, representing our communities that have been impacted by crime in so many, many different ways, and how that is impacted. So thank you, Minister Charles, for sharing that story about how you went overseas to speak with the family of that young person who lost his life here in the Northern Territory, and about how that impacted you and the community that you represent. People across the Northern Territory have been getting in touch with many in government to voice their concerns over what has been occurring across the Northern Territory. I stand here today to say loudly and clearly that our government is listening and our government is acting to ensure community expectations are met as it relates to ensuring those in our community are safe and that offenders are held to account. I would like to finish today by thanking those in the Department and Parliamentary Council who have quite literally worked day and night to ensure these changes can be ready for us here today. The changes make up, in part, changes this government has been looking at reforming, and to ensure they can be ready for today's recall of Parliament is something that should be commended. I urge the House to support this bill, and I note that those opposite have said that they will, to ensure a safer future for our community here in the Northern Territory. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.